The President, please be seated. The Court is now back in session. As the Chamber advised before we broke, according to the schedule, this session is the hearing of testimony of TCW 507. And before we bring in the witness, the Chamber wishes to ask the defense for Mr. Nguyen Chir concerning the waiver of Mr. Nguyen Chir you raised before we broke. The Chamber wishes to know the position, concrete position by the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chir, so that the Chamber has the basis to decide if there is any development in relation to this issue. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have indeed looked at the report and we have discussed the issue with our client, and Nguyen Chir will waive his right to be present in the courtroom here today. He would like to follow the proceedings from his holding cell. As the doctor indicated in his report, he is fatigued and not feeling well in general, but he does not want to delay the proceedings and therefore waives his right to be present in the courtroom, and his waiver will be submitted to your court in due course today.
The President, thank you. So there is no change to this proposition. Court officer is now instructed to usher in the witness TCW 507 in the courtroom. The President, the Chamber wishes to advise parties and members of the public that the Chamber has seized of the request by Mr. Ieng Sari through his defense team, requesting that he be excused from the courtroom, as well as the testimony of some witnesses and TC certain other civil parties, including the present civil party, the present witness TCW 507, and Mr. Ieng Sari has expressed his limited waiver of his presence in the courtroom, but the Chamber wishes to note that the testimony of this witness, TCW 507, Mr. Ieng Sari has waived his right not to be present directly in the courtroom during his testimony, pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the internal rules. Mr. Witness, what is your name? With due respect, Mr. President, my name is, I am a witness. My name is Pei Chu Jing Sai. The President, Pei Chui Chip Sai. Is that correct? Response. That is correct, Mr. President. My name is Pei Chui Chip Sai. Question. How old are you now, Mr. Pei Chui Chip Sai? Response. I am 58 years old now. Question. Where are you currently residing? Response. Currently, I am residing in Thmai, Kok Phlo Kraum Commune, Chi Kraing District, and Siem Reap Province. Mr. Chip Sai, what is your current occupation? Response. Currently, I am a teacher in a primary school, Kilo Macham Primary School in Siem Reap Province. Question. What is your father's name? Response. My father's name is Cheng Chui, but he is deceased. Question. How about your mother? What is her name? Response. My mother's name is Tai Hiek. She is deceased. Question. How about the name of your wife and your children? What is your wife's name and how many children do you have? Response. I got married to Kau Meng Yi and we have 3 children. 2 girls and 1 boy. Thank you. Mr. Chip Sai, according to the report by the greffier, to the best of your knowledge, you have no relationship, whether by marriage or by biological relation, with the civil parties or the accused, namely Mr. Nguyen Chie, Mr. Kieu Sampon, and Mr. Ieng Sari. Is that correct? Response. That is correct, Mr. President. I have no relation with either the co-accused or the civil parties. The President, and according to the same report, you have already taken an oath before the clade. Is that correct? Response. Yes, I have already taken an oath. Thank you. In your capacity as the witness before the chamber, you may reject to respond to any questions or any statement you are requested to make which might self-incriminate you. In other words, if you are of the view that your testimony might incriminate you in any way, that may lead to the prosecution against you, you may reject to respond to that question. However, the chamber wishes to remind you that in your capacity as the witness, you are supposed to respond to the question posed by parties or by judges of the bench, except that any questions or statements that you are of the opinion that they may incriminate you, and you have to tell the court the truth, nothing but the truth, based on your personal experience or observation of the occurrences at the time, in response to the question put by parties and the chamber. Mr. Chip Sai, have you ever provided any interview to the investigators or any official from the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia before? Response. Yes, I have given interview with the reporters and investigators who went to conduct interview with me, the President. How many times did you provide those interviews, and where did the interviews take place? Response. First, I was interviewed in Wat Thmai Pagoda premise in Kraum village, and then at the other time I was interviewed in the primary school compound where I teach. The President. So do I understand you correctly that you were interviewed by the investigator of the OCIJ for 2 times so far? Is that correct? Response. Yes, that is correct. I was interviewed twice. Questions. When was the first interview conducted, and when was the second one was conducted? Response. I do not recall that, Mr. President, but I recall that in the first interview it was in Wat Thmai compound, and the second interview was held at the primary school where I teach. Question. Do you recall the date when the interview was conducted? Response. Mr. President, I apologize. I only recall the year, but I do not recall the exact date. It was conducted in 2008. President. Thank you. Before you come to testify before the chamber, have you examined statements you provided to the Office of Co-Investigating Judge in order to refresh your memory? Response. Yes, I have reviewed the questions and answers I provided to the investigators, and I think I have done that fairly thoroughly. President. So to your recollection, the written records of interview, do you think that it corroborates with the statements or answer you provided to the investigators of the OCIJ? Response. All the questions are correct. There was no ambiguity in the answers I gave, and there was no any change either. The President. Thank you. And Mr. Witness, you are advised that you are provided with the duty counsel, so you may seek consultation with him as you deem appropriate. And Mr. Duty Counsel, what is your name, and can you tell the ID number at the bar? Mr. President, my name is Yun Suvan. I am a member of the Bar Association of the Kingdom of Cambodia with the ID number of 561. The President. The Chamber advises the party that in the conduct of the testimony of this witness, we are going to hand over the floor to the prosecution first to put the questions to the witness in question. and the Chamber wishes to remind the prosecution as well as parties that we have to stay within the confines of the evacuation of people as well as the communication of the period. So the question should not go beyond the confine of the facts alleged in the first trial segment of case 002/01. I now hand over to the prosecution. Mr. Seng Bun Kieng. Thank you, Mr. President. My respect to Mr. President, Your Honors, members of the bench, parties and members of the public, and witness. Good morning, Mr. Chipsai. I have a few questions I would like to seek clarification from you, particularly in relation to your statement which the Office of Co-Investigating Judges document D125/1.27 ERN in Khmer 00224051 and English 00225211 and French 00239976. The President, you may proceed. Court officer is instructed to obtain the document from the prosecution and hand it over to the witness. Mr. Seng Bun Kieng. Thank you, Mr. President. Question. If you look at the in Khmer 00224051, you told the Office of Investigators, Office of Co-Investigating Judges that you joined the Liberation Forces, which was the Khmer Rouge Forces in 1961, and then later on you were attached to the security office by the name of Pung Ro Security Office. So I would like to ask you to tell the court what you did between 1971 up until you were deployed to work at the security Pung Ro Security Office. Response. Mr. Prosecutor, I would like to ask you for a simplification of the question because I do not quite catch your question. Question. From 1971, you joined the revolutionary movement of the Khmer Rouge, and then you started working at the Pung Ro Security Office according to your statement with the OCIJ. I would like to know the time period between when you first joined the movement and up until you were deployed to work with the Pung Ro Security Office. What did you do during that period? A response. I now understand your question. In about 1971, I joined the Khmer Rouge Forces. I worked with other Khmer Rouge soldiers, and in 1972, there were fighting going on in the battlefields. And at that time, I was also involved in the battlefields. And at that time, the Khmer Rouge soldier launched the Chenla 2 campaign. So I went back to my home village. It was in Chikrang district, Siem Reap province. So when I left the Khmer Rouge, I went back to live in my home village for a short period of time. But if I do not answer your question, Mr. Prosecutor, please ask for clarification. Question. In the same document D125/127, ERN in Khmer 00224051, English 00225210, and French 00239976. You said in 1974 there were a lot of killings, and those people who were killed were accused of being bandits, and among those who were killed were women and children as well. My question to you is, who named them as bandits at that time? Response. People who accused them of being bandits were the district committee, who accused those people of being the bandits. So they ordered us as the security forces at that time to search and arrest them and imprison them. So we had to comply with the order once we were required to arrest those people. And once arrested, we sent them all to the security office. Thank you. Can you clarify a bit further in relation to the status given to them as the bandits? What were the charges against them at that time? Response. The superiors of that location, at my location at that time, they were concerned of the rebellions by people, and then they told us that those people rebel against the Khmer Rouge, and they took refuge in the forest in order to join with the Lon Nol forces. And they also told us that there were helicopters who came to pick up those people from our location and move them to Siem Reap area. And then they took them back and to the forests, and then those people who went along with the allegedly official or people belonging to the Lon Nol soldier were eventually arrested, and they were charged with being the bandits.
Question. On the same document, there was a case of evacuation on the 17th of April 1975, and also the management of the officers of the former Khmer Republic. My question to you is, on the 17th of April 1975, where did you live? Response. On the 17th of April 1975, I lived at the security office of Pung Ro. I had not left the Khmer Rouge, yet I was still attached to my tasks at the security center at Pung Ro. Question. Were you aware at what time the population of Siem Reap was being evacuated? The President, witness, please hold on, counsel, for Mr. Nguyen Chia. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I object to that question. The evacuation of Siem Reap is not part of case 002/001. If this witness has any information as to the evacuation of Phnom Penh, he of course can be asked about that, but not about the evacuation of Siem Reap. That would be the topic of another trial that might be held in the future.
Mr. President, if I may briefly respond to that, there are two reasons why the evacuation of Siem Reap is a issue on which the trial chamber can hear evidence. First, it is evidence of the practice and policy of evacuation that was carried out by the Khmer Rouge. The court has previously heard evidence from witnesses regarding the evacuation of Kampot, Takeo, and other cities. The second reason is that the part of the burden of the co-prosecutors is to prove that this was a widespread and systematic practice in order to prove the crimes against humanity charge. As part of that evidence, we will prove, and the evidence will show, that cities and urban areas across Cambodia were evacuated. We will not, of course, be hearing numerous witnesses on this issue, but where we have witnesses who have evidence relating to the evacuation of other urban areas, such as Siem Reap, that is certainly relevant to this case.
The President, the objection by counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia is not sustained. The Chamber has already indicated that the witness' knowledge is more about the general policy of the Khmer Rouge concerning the evacuations. And for that reason, the witness is called to appear before the chamber today. Witness is now instructed to respond to the question if you still remember the question. If not, you may ask the prosecutor to repeat it. Response. I am afraid I do not quite catch what the President was saying. The President, what I was saying was that you were instructed to respond to the question put by the prosecutor, and if you did not remember the question, you may ask him to repeat it for you. Co-prosecutor, Mr. President, perhaps I would like now to repeat the question for him. When did the population, or when was the population of Siem Reap city evacuated? Response. So far as I remember, the people of Siem Reap were evacuated after the 17th of April 1975, like the people in Phnom Penh were. Question. Were you aware of where these people would be sent to? Response. I know for sure that the people of Siem Reap had to be evacuated to the rural areas. Civilians were sent there, but former officials and soldiers were kept at Kampong Kdai location awaiting to be executed. Question. Mr. Witness, do you know whether there were any instructions from the cadres in your area with regard to how the evacuees would be managed? Response. With regard to the evacuation of the soldiers and former officials of the Khmer Republic to Kampong Kdai location, the security forces of Pung Ro had no authority on this. But we learned that there were a lot of people being evacuated to the location, and the Khmer Rouge soldiers were on guard, and interrogations were carried out, but not by the security forces at that location. We saw people being transported in the whole family by trucks, in particular those former officials, to be executed. And people were sent in from other locations to execute those detained officials. Question. You said officials were executed, and you also mentioned about soldiers. Can you please be more precise as to which regime these people belong to? Response. When I was saying about the officials and soldiers, they were the former Lonol officials and soldiers who had been detained and executed by the Khmer Rouge, and we heard that the Khmer Rouge referred to them as the former Lonol soldiers and officials. And when soldiers came, they came along with their spouses and children, and they were kept at the old buildings at Kampong Kdai location. I saw their children were running, playing there before they had been sent out to be executed. Question. Looking at your written record of interview before the investigators of the court, you indicated that after the 17th of April 1975, you saw the evacuation of soldiers and former Khmer Republic officials to be kept at the old buildings at the Chi Krang location, and they were guarded days and nights. And this document is the 125/127. Document in English is 00225210. French 00239976. Can you please clarify for us where Psa Chi Krang is located and how far is it from the security center? Response. Kampong Kdai market is in Chi Krang location, and the market is about 7 kilometers away from the security center. I guess it about 7 kilometers for sure. The President, Council and witness, since it is now appropriate time for lunch adjournment, the Chamber will adjourn now, and the next session will be resumed by 1:30. Court officer is now instructed to assist Mr. Witness and his jury counsel during the adjournment, and that he shall be returned to the courtroom when the next session resumes. Security personnel are now instructed to bring Mr. Kyew Sampon to his holding cell and have him return to the courtroom when the next session resumes by 1:30 p.m. The court is adjourned.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ